G'day everyone, welcome to another video by myself, Andrew DFT. And of course this is a how to make tutorial for the FORTNITE pistol. Now I originally showed you this little guy here, a nice little piece that I carved out of styrofoam, and a lot of you guys took to like it and wanted to produce it yourself. Now because I produced a lot of content so far with EVA foam tutorials, I thought I'd go back and do something out of styrofoam, as I personally believe styrofoam is a fantastic material which you can get much higher grade detail out of props like this. So rather than neglect a lot of you guys who have foam, I thought this one could be targeted towards you guys. Now for those of you who are not familiar, I use XPS styrofoam. It is a extruder polystyrene. It's not polystyrene even though it has it in its name. This is a high density fiberboard, so there's no individual little balls that you'd see in like a TV wrapping with polystyrene blocks. This is a high density fiberboard. You can usually find it at most hardware material places. It comes in big sheets like this, and it can be in many different colors from green, pink, yellow, blue, whatever. Every company makes it different, but at its core it should be the same material. Now because I live in New Zealand, I can't obviously help out a lot of you who are in the States or Canada or Europe, wherever you are. But if you do manage to find the material, please in the comments below let the audience know. If you're in Australia, let them know what stores sell it and vice versa. And yeah, hopefully you guys can help each other out. Now last thing before we jump in is this is the result I'm currently working on from the tutorial. It's not finalized with the paint job yet because I really want to give it a nice paint job and I wanted to make sure this tutorial came out. But this is the original one I did. Now I decided to scale up the template ever so slightly because one, it looks fantastic having a bigger, larger cartoon prop, but two, it also has a production factor in that it's easier to carve detail in a larger prop than it is a smaller. So hopefully you guys managed to find that and we'll have a nice design at the end of it. Otherwise, let's jump in and get started. Alright, so the first thing to do is go ahead and print off the templates. You can get those for free via the PDF in the description box below. Now once you've done that, we're going to assemble the template by its main bulk, cutting off all the excess pieces. We don't need those right now, and we're going to go transfer that onto some styrofoam. Once we have that laid nicely on the styrofoam, we're going to go ahead and quickly add a horizontal line to the top ridge part here. Obviously this makes it a lot easier to actually cut out the piece, so that way it's in one single whole piece along a nice horizontal line, and then we'll go ahead and excavate that out at a later date, or not later date, but later time in the video. You can then go ahead and add the safety line. The safety line is a perimeter line that goes about maybe an inch from the design part, and then we'll actually go and slice down at a 90-degree angle to cut this big block free of the foam. Now to make sure the template lays nicely and mirrored on the other side, what I do is I add 90-degree angles to the edges of the foam and then trace that along the back side to hopefully find some points that meet. Obviously the top and the side panel should actually come together, which you can see me now figuring that out and then obviously laying in the template, and that should hopefully, which in this case it did, line it up exactly on the other side, so a mirrored version. Once you've got the lines laid in, you can go ahead and actually cut this free from the template, or sorry, from the styrofoam block, which might take you some time, but remember this is the most important part as you want the smoothness, the straight edges to be as on point as possible. Next we're going to go ahead and break apart the template by cutting the top section off. We're then going to lay it down onto the styrofoam on both sides and transfer this line in. Of course this is going to help us separate the detail so we can excavate the foam and give us the design we're after. Going ahead and laying that in might give you a bit of a wonky line, but be sure to go back with the straight edge and clean those up. We can then cut the centerpiece out of the handle because we're going to lay that in as well. Using the template as a negative transfer, you can simply run the pen along that and that should leave you with a nice marking where everything is starting to look in place as it should be. Then what we're going to do is start to break apart and make sure we establish the layers. Now I'm going about 1/4 of an inch down into this foam by adding in the depth layers. These depth layers are then going to pretty much identify how far down we need to carve, so that way we have the nice level effect that gives us what we're after. We're then going to grab a nice sharp craft blade and actually run the blade down to that depth. You don't want to cut too far down, although it's not really an issue here, but you just want to kind of make the blade run as deep as that line goes. Any deeper and you are starting to cut into a territory we don't really need to go. But once you've got the depth established, you can go in on a 45-degree angle or whatever angle you choose to bevel off that area, so that way we can then go ahead and shave off all this segment. Now when you are shaving off all this excess material, please be careful with your eyes, with your hands placement, as this is the most common place for a blade to snap or for an injury to occur really. So please make sure that you're watching out for that. We're going to do the same on the handle as well, but it's highly recommended that you cut down and establish that depth point so that way we know exactly where we're carving in. Now to excavate this section off, you can actually come in from the side, which will help, of course, really make sure that the depth is accurate, because really on this part, if it's not looking that great, you're going to notice it because this is a key centerpiece and the gun isn't really that big, so anything that stands out is obviously going to be obvious. It's kind of self-explanatory. But once you've of course shaved it all the way, it should sit nicely, and then you can take some nice high grit sandpaper and make it all level, and well, it looks pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and do it to the front section as well. Obviously this gun does have 3 levels, 3 tiers, so what we want to do is go ahead and add the depth line. We can go 1/4 of an inch down as well into the center, and then go ahead and take that whole section right off. That should give us the nice terraced effect that we're after, and well, it looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is bevel the bottom of the gun. Right now it sits at a 90-degree angle, which ideally is not what we want. We want to shave these off to give them a nice beveled edge. So what we're going to do is grab the template, and as you can see them all lined in, you can either freehand it or you can actually cut it off and use it as a negative transfer, whatever is best for you. Once you've got it drawn in there, you're going to add a depth line in as well, which set maybe, well, 1/4 of an inch into the foam, and then go ahead and cruise through that foam with a nice sharp craft blade and bevel it off. Being careful to make sure that the blade is getting both the top and the bottom line. That way it keeps it nice and clean, because if you start to deviate from those lines, it's going to look a bit unusual, as we're not really going to sand this edge. We want it to keep that nice kind of crisp edging. So do your best, keep an eye on it, and it should turn out perfect. So that's it, part 1 done and dusted. Now I did want to make sure that I got everything in that I wanted to, hence why I'm doing it into 2 parts. So of course we'll continue the build, and if you are happy with the way you're going so far, then good, jump in and get started on that. Until the next one guys, I'll catch you later.